Before I begin, I must apologize to my loyal fans for not having a preview of the race meet for Saturday just gone. I tried my best, but I had an extremely busy Thursday and Friday, and Saturday that was last resort. I once again had family commitment and was on the road, so that took up all of my time, and even in the middle of the night when I tried to do recording, things came up again. So that just a strange set of occurrences and some other stuff. But speaking of strange set of occurrences and other stuff, so some while some while back, I did a video talking about jockeys not riding out their mount. Now, I was specifically speaking about those jockeys who were in second or third and realized that they could not win the race again, so they decided to conserve energy, right? And ends up finishing in fourth or fifth or sixth or whatever. And persons who wager on the exacta, the trifecta, the quinella, the pentafecta, aka I5, finds themselves losing out because of the jockeys pulling out the mounts once they realize that they cannot finish the race. Now, some persons say this is because they're disappointed that they're not able to win the race, and other persons are saying it's because these horses are lame and they're trying to preserve them. Now, there are other instances now where jockeys don't even raise a gallop with their horses in races. And if you're experienced as a punter, you can see this happening day after day, race meet after race meet. And this is something that you can easily spot. Now, I have no issues with the jockeys when they do this. And you might say, huh? What do you mean you don't have any issues with the jockeys when they do this? I have no issue with the jockeys because I am not the one riding the horses and I don't know what they're feeling when they ride the horses. My issue is with the stewards and the JRC. I strongly believe that if the racing product is to grow, there has to be some form of accountability at every step, every level. The average person in Jamaica, they view horse racing as a sport that is rigged, where sometimes the outcome of a race is determined before the race is contested. Now, while this may or may not be the truth, we have to understand that narrative is more dangerous than the truth. Appearance is more dangerous than reality. And there is a philosophical school of thought, especially in the political science domain, that he who shapes the narrative definitely will get further than those who is telling the truth, but there is a counter narrative out there from other persons that counter this truth, and people more likely believe the counter narrative. Now, I say this to say that one of the way in which you can shape a narrative is by having accountability. So race after race, when incidents are spotted in races that are extremely obvious, the onus is now on the stewards, who are the guardians of racing, to call up these jockeys and say to these jockeys, explain yourself, what happened? We notice that when riding whatever horse, we notice that based on how you were riding, you did not give that horse a fair chance of winning. It is now up to that jockey, that individual jockey, to then turn around and say, well, Mr. Stewart, I was riding the horse, and while riding, I felt as if he went lame. And coming into the race, I already knew that he was in a 40% condition. And the instruction that I was given by ex-trainer was that if I'm riding and I feel as if my mount is not responding the way it should respond and it has gone lame, that I should ease him up to preserve him for the future. Now, with that explanation now, the JRC, the stewards, should then communicate to the public, to the punters, that jockey XYZ was called up for not giving his mount a fair chance on XYZ date, and his explanation is XYZ, which was accepted by the stewards. That is not difficult to do. And in cases where the explanation is not accepted by the steward and it becomes extremely obvious that nothing was wrong with the horse, although, if we're being fair, it is somewhat difficult for punters to stay up in the stands or on the TV and know for certain if something is wrong with a horse. Although it's not that difficult, but it's somewhat difficult because I've stayed up in the North Lounge and looked down at the parade ring and saw a 1-9 favorite that when looking down, I did not like the condition of that horse, and I said, this horse is lame. And someone beside me said, yes, this one won't pass the vets. Lo and behold, that horse did took part in the race and ran down the track. So you can know sometime when the horses are lame, but for the vast majority of the time, you will not know when the horses are lame. So all I'm saying is, punters bet their money on races. They're hard-earned money. And everyone living in Jamaica can tell you that earning money in Jamaica is not easy if you go down a legitimate path. So with people hard-earned money, the onus is now on the powers that be that each time there are strange occurrences in a race to come out to the public and state that ex-jockey was asked to explain his ride and he gave an explanation that was accepted by the stewards, or he gave an explanation that was not accepted by the steward and he was fined X amount of money and banned for X amount of race days. How difficult is that to do? Every single job on this planet has some form of accountability. Even politicians that we like to say don't have some form of accountability. They do, because the public vote them out once it is that the public has deemed that they have had enough of these politicians. Although that's a different topic, because big money from the ruling class, the ownership class, can definitely go a far way in keeping incompetent governments in power. We are seeing this happen globally. But this is not a political discussion. This is a racing discussion. So all I'm asking for the stewards for now is to do your jobs when you see things happening in races. Call them up and let the public know what the explanation was and what the final decision from the steward was. Whether or not it is a case where the jockey will come up to you guys and lie that the horse was lame, still do what should be done. Call them up and ask them. Because at the end of the day, the narrative is more dangerous than the truth. And you cannot have a narrative being out there for the racing product that these shenanigans are taking place. Anyway, guys, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out for now.